Hi guys, if you want to know how I sew this beautiful piece, make sure to watch this video to the end. So let's dive right into it. And this is my pattern, which I've cut out both the lining and also the fabric. And right here on the fabric, I added ½ inch to this for the sewing allowance. But over to this, my Bustier, I did not add any ½ inch because I've added that to my pattern. My bust point is 4, but you can see I have 4.5. I have added this to my pattern. I can see at the armhole, I added 1 inch extra. Why? Because by the time you are done cutting out and you join, you'll be short of fabric because you've minused I removed about 1 inch. And you can see on this fabric I have 7 inch and my armhole length is about 7.5. You can see that is why we have the extra 1 inch on the fabric. So I'll go ahead and join this piece together off camera. And this is the upper part which I'll be attaching that gives the queen anne shape. And this is the back pattern. I have cut out both the lining and the fabric, as you can see. And I've added ½ inch on every side. That is for the sewing allowance. Make sure to add ½ inch. And this is what the front pattern looks like. So I also went ahead to add my stay and my wording. So you can see and also added the stay to the upper part. As you can see, I stopped the stay at my underbust, which is 13, and this is what it looks like. I just added stay to give it this strong of beautiful look of finishing, and I added the wording to like pad my busts. So I'll go ahead and join these two pieces together. So to make this easier, I just notch my underbust. So I make sure when I'm trying to sew this, I make sure they both meet at this point before I sew. So I've gone on camera to sew these, and this is what it is looking like. As you can see, it is already looking beautiful. So not to make this point which I've joined bulky, I just go ahead and remove out the excess wording at the ½ inch which I've joined. I go ahead to trim it off. Yeah, I usually use this pattern because I want that bust point, but whenever I press it using my iron, I want that place to sit so flat. So I did this for both ends. As you can see, it is looking much more better. So you can see what it's looking like. The lines are already laying flat. I also go ahead and do the same. I went ahead to join the lining together, and this is what the lining look like, and this is the fabric. So I'll just go ahead and use the lining to turn the fabric, as you can see. So I've gone ahead to iron this part. I've ironed it flat, and I usually advise iron this flat. You can see it's giving this flat surface, and the line is not that visible. I also went ahead to flat iron this point also. You can see I've already cut out the excess wording on that point. So this made it easier and made it easier for the line to sit well. I also went ahead to do the same thing to iron that part on also the lining. And I've also so you make sure to use your lining to turn this. As when you turn this, make sure you sew on the lining. So when you fold it, the lining rests well. It doesn't have to pop out when you sew this. So I'm done doing this. So you can see what it looks like. And I've also gone ahead to join this using ½ inch. And you can see what the shoulder is looking like. It's already giving the queen anne shape. So I'll go ahead and sew this together. So I've also gone ahead to sew it off camera. For this side, I did not turn it in because I was going to whip it. So I just used the lining to just turn it, and I sew on that side. Now for this is 1.5 inches wide and about 7 inches long. I'll be using this as a band for the back, where I'll be using it to join the back together and put something like a bow tie. So for the back also, I went ahead to also use the lining to join. I'm so sorry I did not make the video of this, but you can see this this 1 inch is for the zipper allowance, and you can see this is the other back. You can see I did the same thing. I went ahead to use the lining, and don't forget we left about 1.5 inch for the back where we'll be joining using our button there. So for the back, I've gone ahead to sew down my zip, and this is what it is looking like after I've joined or added the zip to it. And you can see, make sure those points they are all meeting each other, as you can see. I was short of fabric since I made use of 2.5 yards, and I went ahead to use this material and the lining for the belt, and I made it 5 inches wide. As you can see, I made it 5 inches wide, and I did the same cutting for both the net, the chantilly net and this, and it's about 41 inches long. So I'll go ahead to my sewing machine and join it this way, and I'll turn it out. So I've gone ahead to turn both. I joined both the chantilly lace and the lining together. As you can see, this is what it looks like. I went ahead to give the belt a V shape at the tip, and this is what the two belts I'll be making use of looks like, since I was short of fabric. Now, since after you've added the zipper allowance, you put the front on top of each other. Make sure the shoulder slants are meeting each other. They are both starting at the same point and ending at the same point. Make sure you place it well while you're trying to join it. You do the same thing to the sides. As you can see, mine is already staying well. As you can see, I went ahead to join it on my machine, and you can see what the shoulder slant is looking like. So I used 1/2 inch for the joining. So now, before I join the sides, I'm going to add the belt to it. And for the belt, I'm going up by 1 inch to add the belt. So from the tip, I'll be going up by 1 inch. Then you go ahead and place your belt. That is the tip. You go ahead and place the tip of your belt this way. So as you can see, I placed it on that 1 inch which I've marked out. Make sure to use your tipping to hold it down so that it doesn't shift while you're trying to sew it. So went ahead to use my tipping, and make sure the belt is facing outwards. You go ahead and arrange your front, and make sure it is well arranged, and make sure the points are meeting each other. So you make sure you arrange it well, and you can see they are both at the same point. You go ahead and go to your machine and stitch and sew it down by 1/2 inch. So I try to place it well and make sure they are well arranged. The up is no longer than the back. So as you can see, you try to lay it so flat. To help me not to stress, I use tipping to hold it down, so it is much more easier for me to sew it down. And this is what it is looking like. As you can see, these two are going to overlap since I'm going to add the button to it. And this is the band which I've added at the back. I'll be trimming that point out. As you can see, I'll go ahead and sew it down out by 1/2 inch and do the same thing on the other side. So let's go over to cutting out the colors. So for this gathers, that pattern paper which you've cut out, for me, I'll go out by 2 inch. You can make yours 1 inch, 1.5, 3 inch, depending on how wide or how much you want your gathers to be. Since mine was just 2 yard fabric, I had to manage it. So you go ahead and draw out a straight line. Just as you can see, you make a straight line on that point which you've marked out. Since I marked 2 inches, I'll go ahead and make a straight line at all points. So I'll label it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I have 5 pieces. So I'll go ahead and cut out these 5 sections. So you make use of a scissors and cut out the section following the straight line which you have drawn. So like I said, you could make yours 1 inch, 1.5, depending on how wide your fabric is or how much you want your gathers to be. So this is what the 5 sections look like. I'm just trying to straighten out that point. So now I'll go ahead and place this in my fabric. So this is what I have left for my fabric, and this is 2 fabrics together, both the back and the front. I went ahead to use the pins to hold it down. So now for this first section, you make sure that point is facing that point which is on fold. The number 1 is facing that point which is on fold. You go ahead and use your pin, your office pin, to hold it down. So make sure you use your pin to hold the pattern paper on the fabric. Now, depending on how wide you want your gathers to be, since I was managing fabric, I made the inches. The gap should be 7 inches gap. Like I said, I was managing the fabric. So you can make just 10, 15, depending on how much you want it to be. There is no standard to this. So for each of the sections, I'll be using 7 inches gap. Make sure you place it very well and hold it down with your pin. Away from this now, I would go ahead and measure out another 7 inches wide. That is 7 inches gap from this. Like I said, 7 inches gap for everything. That is what I'm making use of. So you can decide to use yours as 9, as 8, as 12, depending on how excess your fabric is and how much you want it to be gathered. So you do this for all parts. You can see the fifth part. Make sure the fifth part is sewing facing the side which is on, not on fold. So you can see we have 5 sections now. So you also go ahead and mark out ½ inch following this pattern. You can see it's a slanted pattern. So you follow back that slanted back pattern. You keep shaping it out this way, making sure it's ½ inches gap between them all. As you can see, I went ahead and make sure I shaping it well. That is ½ inches gap between them. Just follow the pattern. So I went ahead and also leave out ½ inch at this hip side. So I went ahead and cut it out this way. So this is what it looks like. So you also go ahead and cut out this part. So you can see that it is slanted just the way that pattern was. So you give it this shape. You go ahead and cut it out. So by the time you are done, you now make your gathers on it. So I've cut this out, and this is what it looks like now. So for mine, I decided to add sleeves to mine. You can decide not to add sleeves to yours, but I just wanted the sleeve to mine. So I made use of this same chantilly lace of the same color just as my fabric. And for the length, my hand is 23 inches long, but I'm making use of 21 inches since I'll be adding a gathers at the tip. So I'll be using gathers at the tip of mine, just like a flare. So now I'm coming down by 3.5 inch for my arm, and coming out also on this side by 3.5 inch also for the cap height. So down away from the cap height, I'll measure out 3 inch, which I'll use to take my round arm. So my round arm is 7 plus extra 1 inch for sewing, which is 8. So I also come down to my elbow. So my elbow is at 12, and my elbow is 5.5 plus 1 inch, which make it 6.5. My round arm is 4 plus 1 inch, making it 5. So I go ahead and use my ruler to connect this in a straight line, as you can see. So on this side, I'll be using 9 inches. So you go ahead and trim this out. I was supposed to make use of 8 inch for that side, but for that point which I marked out 9 inches, but I wanted it to be excess because sometimes I can add weight so fast, so I made it 9. So you go ahead and cut this out gently. You cut 2 of these, that is for the left hand and the right hand. So this is what it looks like. Now for the gathers, this is about 40 inches, and I made this 6 inches wide. So I'll go ahead 6 inches long and 40 inches wide. So I go ahead and cut this out. I cut out the second piece both for both hands. That's for the left hand side and the right hand side. So since I know it's the same length, I'll just measure out the wideness, which is 6 inches. Then you go ahead to cut this out just as which you cut the other one. So this is what it looks like. So now for the back, I've gone ahead to do my gathers, as you can see what it looks like. So I went ahead to do the gathers, and now before I did the gathers, I first of all went ahead to fold the tip. So make sure you fold the tip before you do the gathers. So at this point also, I also went ahead to notch or use my chalk to mark out that point which was on fold, that is the midpoint. I did the same thing for the second gathers. Now you place that your upper part this way, and you take your gathers, which is that midpoint which you've marked out or notch. Then you place it to meet the midpoint of the cloth, that point which has the V pointed out. As you can see, by the time I place it around the cloth, you can see it is the exact measurement. If you want to help on how to know the exact measurement for your gathers, just make sure you use your tape rule to measure out whatever you have on the cloth. If you have 36 on the cloth, so you know sure that your inches for your gathers will be 36. As you can see, this is what it will look like. I'll go ahead and do it off camera and join the gathers. So I've gone ahead to join the gathers off camera, and I also went ahead to add another band at the back. And this is the belt. This is what the belt looks like. and this is what it will be looking like by the time you are done. I've added my sleeves to it, and I made a bow tie which I'll add to the back. I wanted to just give it a little bit of spice, so I've added the bow tie to the back. And this is, you can see what it's looking like. See the sleeve, I've added the gathers which will act as a flare to it, and this is what it looks like. So turning it to the front, you can see what the front piece is also looking like. You can see the bustier, you can see the queen and neck and the V shape. You can see this is neatly done. You can see what it is looking like. It is giving. So you can see I went ahead to use half inch to join both the gathers to the upper side. You can see what it looks like. And when you join the gathers, you sew on that point which you've drawn out. And this is the beautiful look of this piece we have made. You can see it is looking so beautiful. But if you follow whatever guide I have talked about, you get this beautiful piece. Thank you guys for watching this video to the end, and we've come to the end of this tutorial, and I'm sure by now you can make your own beautiful piece. And don't forget, I still remain your hair, DIY and fashion channel. Love you all.